See, I told you all that if you went out and bought all the Tyranids, which is the Tyranid Warrior and the Termagants, that JoyToy would make even more, and I was right. So the original release sold out very quickly. So when the dollars come in, that is a green light for more action figures. In this review video, we have a lot of ground to cover, starting out with the Hormagaunt, the 2 Termagants, and finally ending with the Ripper Swarm. So without further ado, let's get to the review. Starting off with the head area, I just love the look of the chitinous armor that's on top of its head. There's a very high degree of texturization and highlights that remind me of a V1 Space Marine that really serves to give extra dimension to this action figure. The eyes are a properly piercing yellow, and the sinews of this jaw really gives you an idea of the musculature on this creature. There is a notch on the bottom of the jaw where you put this wicked looking tongue. Moving down, you have another fantastic example of the carapace, and I really love what JoyToy has done with this area. Now, focusing in on the talons, they look like nasty scythes that have this interesting magenta glow to it. The mini talons on this action figure is constructed very nicely as well, with a lot of bone-like texturization and plenty of shading in the deepest recesses. I'll have to say that the underbody of this Hormagaunt is truly something to behold, because first, the depth of flavor here is amazing with the shading. Then adding another layer on top of an already excellent area is this usage of this bone patterning here. The rest of this figure just flows cohesively. And ending in this tail region, this area always reminds me of a grilled squid tentacles because, well, it looks like it was grilled with the purple patterning and the general shape. And now we have a pair of Termagant specimens, and we will look at the one with the spike rifle first. So in general, you will see that there's a sense of cohesiveness all throughout the Leviathan Tyranid line, with the base color of this dark purple that's been highlighted up a lighter purple on the highest edges of the chitin. Once again, the bone area is a very light purple that contrasts a little bit with the dark of the carapace. Finally, how could you miss the shading in the recesses of the deep grooves of the bone? So much of this Termagant is very similar to the Hormagaunt, so I'll just zero in on the differences between these action figures. The biggest difference is clearly that this Termagant has hands right here that are able to grip the spike rifle. In fact, the hands are actually very pliable, as you can see here, and do not need any sort of hot water to open them, much akin to the version 3 Space Marine hands. So this left hand is very skeletal-like, that's been capped off with these black talons, while the right ones are also skeletal, except the fact that they appear that they meld into the spike rifle, as the tips are just stubs, and there are holes on the spike rifle where the tips go. So looking at the spike rifle itself, it is as chitinous as the body of the Termagant, with the usage of black chitin on the top instead of purple. I kind of like the usage of the black for this area to differentiate this part from the body of the Tyranid. The pink tip of this rifle bears a resemblance to a mouth that, well, spits the spikes out at the end. It's a slight shame that this rifle is attached to the body of the Tyranid. And now I'm going to show you how the spike rifle attaches, and it's very easy. You just slot it in, and there you go. Perfect attachment. Alright, moving on to the Termagant with the spine fists. The general look of this body is exactly the same as the other Termagant that I just reviewed. So let's take a look at what makes this action figure different from its brother, sister, cousin, second uncle, or whatever. So clearly the difference is in the spine fists of this action figure. It would appear that the hands of the Termagant have actually just melded into the weapon itself, meaning that the creature doesn't have any sort of fingers. In fact, this area kind of reminds me of someone who decides to use brass knuckles that are somehow oddly capable of shooting. There's this presence of this soft plastic part that binds the back of the hand to the forearm region of the Tyranid. Now let's talk about this diminutive but no less ferocious Ripper. Tyranid scientists already know that these Rippers come in swarms, but I decided to buy only one of them because, well, they look all the same. Again, there's a unity that is found amongst all of these creatures. The shape of this vicious little beast reminds me of a immature larval creature with these underdeveloped legs that I suppose are cradled within the body of this figure. This cute little critter has these two tiny arms right here that stick out to balance the body. What I find interesting is that the head is attached only to the body of the carapace, but I doubt that's how the Ripper's head truly attaches itself in real life or fantasy life. And you also are provided the same platform or base that you would find on Space Marines with jump packs, and this is how you would insert it in right here to the bottom of the Ripper. Now let's compare the body of a Termagant to the Hormagaunt. So it appears the head area is the same. However, this forearm area is completely different from one to the other. I find the middle talons right here to be completely the same on both creatures. The carapace section on the Hormagaunt is flat compared to the spined ridges that are found on the Termagant in the same area. This rear section is also completely the same to its cousin, brother, sister, but the tail portion of the Hormagaunt right here is longer than the Termagant. Finally, the hind legs, as you can see right here, is the same from this part up, but then the bottom part right here is completely different from the Hormagaunt's shin region being more elongated versus the scrunched up one that you find on the Termagant. Movement wise, there's actually a decent amount of articulation. You can move the head area back and forth 180 degrees. There's a fair amount of up and down motion as well. This area you can rotate 360 degrees for some wild posing, and the talons also have 360 degrees of full range motion. Same thing with the middle talons right here. Also, same thing with the hind legs too. You're able to rotate this, I suppose, thorax section 360 degrees, as you can see. And then there's a joint right here that you can also rotate around. You can also rotate the tail 360 degrees, and there's a little bit of wagging motion here. So the articulation on the Hormagant as well as the Termagant right here is pretty much the same, and the fluidity of the movement is awesome. And the little Ripper dude has kind of a fixed tail right here. Can't really move it around. These legs you can't move around, and this little part of the body has 360 degrees of motion, and you can also flap it up and down like that. It also has a little bit of motion right here in the foreclaws right here. And finally, you are able to pivot the head 360 degrees, and the jaw has decent motion as well, just like the rest of its cousins. Thank you for joining me in this in-depth review. Now please join me in the wrap-up. Alright Tyranid fans, let me know what you think of these action figures in the comment section below. I'm very interested to hear what you have to say about them. So here's exactly what I have to say. I think these action figures that are in front of me are excellent in that they have great continuity with the colors as well as the highlights that are on them. I do really enjoy how vicious looking that they are. I'm very impressed with what JoyToy has done with these Tyranids, and I think this line has a very bright future ahead, as they tend to be rather top heavy, which means that they lean forward a lot. You're gonna have to put them on these plastic bases as you see here. Most of my Space Marine action figures, I don't have them on these bases, but these Tyranids, they really need it, as they have a tendency to fall forward without it. So if you are interested in picking up these action figures, click in the link in the description below, or you will be brought to David Toys, where I get all of these action figures that I review. And when you check out, do not forget to use the code SNS to receive 12% off of your purchase. So closing out, members of the chapter, I think this is an excellent lineup of Xenos, and it serves to have a nice foil to the Space Marines that we've seen time and time again. So it's a nice refreshing breath of fresh air to get something different. I want to thank you, members of the chapter, for watching and contributing with all your likes, subscribes, as well as your comments. And with that being said, I'll see you all in the next one.